Well, hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me for Roofing Contractors Best of Success podcast show, and welcome to Legal Insights. I'm Jill Bloom, group publisher of Roofing Contractor, and always excited to talk to our legal expert, Trent Cotney, partner with Adams & Reese. Trent, it's always great to see you. Thank you for joining me.
Jill, it's my pleasure. It's good to see you again.
Yes, it hasn't been that long since we've been face-to-face, which is always fun.
Right.
Well, lots to cover today and some really great nuggets for all contractors listening today. But first and foremost, Trent, you just gave us a great article on filing taxes for 2022. Can you give everybody just a quick overview? There are some good nuggets there that I think we need to talk about again.
Yeah, if you're like me, you're in sort of the throes of getting, not only your personal stuff together, but your business taxes. And there's been a lot of changes recently. Obviously, I think most people are probably aware of the ERC credits, the employee retention credit that kind of came out of COVID. There's still some capability there that you might be able to get that. But what's really interesting, Jill, is that Inflation Reduction Act that came out in August of 22. There's a variety of taxes there. Most people think about, the energy related tax credits that you would get for, offering, solar or whatever it might be. But there's some things that contractors should be aware of. For example, if you engage in a corporate buyback, that could potentially hold another 1% excise tax. There's some alternative minimum taxes, depending on if you're a large company, sort of a business minimum tax threshold, and that's 15%. And then there's just a variety of other things that you should at least discuss with your CPA, prior to submitting that claim. I know I've looked over all mine 2 or 3 times, and I've just sent over my final package today. So hopefully, the accountant's got everything they need. But again, every year it seems to get more complicated. Tax year 2022 is no exception.
Yes, for sure. Well, it happens every year, right? There's something at the last minute. You're like, hold on, I got to make sure I get this right.
Yeah, and check out that article. I think it really kind of goes through everything, and it's been a great resource for a lot of contractors. So I encourage everybody to go there. It goes into a lot more detail.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a link down below in the copy, so people can link right on it. But Trent, the other thing we were just talking about, it sounds like there's a new lead standard that has come up in California, which is pretty important for contractors. What do they need to know?
Yeah, so it was interesting. We're always trying to watch. Obviously, we watch federal legislation, federal rulemaking, that kind of stuff. But one of the things that we saw recently is that one of the California agencies has put forth some rulemaking with the lowest permissible exposure limit that I've ever seen anywhere for lead exposure. If you're any type of contractor, it doesn't matter whether you're, building envelope or you're roofing, whatever it is, inevitably, if you're working on an older building, you're going to encounter lead, whether it's through lead paint or lead that's contained within construction materials. So although this may just be isolated to California now, my concern is that it's picked up nationally, and obviously something that we want to watch out for, because I think the standard is so low that it's pretty much going to be a giant dragnet for anyone that's doing repairs on older structures.
Yeah, and of course, here in Michigan, everyone pays attention to lead, especially with what happened in Flint, because that was not a good thing. That affected everybody as well as contractors. But Trent, the other thing we were just talking about, you're mentioning that contractors need to keep in mind if they end up having a counsel appointed by their insurance company. And there was some really kind of scary things there that we should probably talk about for a minute.
Yeah.
What do we need to know?
It's interesting, throughout our system, usually I have at least 1 or 2 lawyers that are in trial or arbitration any given week. So we encounter a lot of different issues when insurance gets involved. The classic example is, let's say you've got a leak somewhere, you tender it over to your insurance carrier appoints you defense counsel. Okay. That defense counsel, they have an obligation to make sure that they're defending you in that case. But there may be an issue that comes up with regard to whether or not you have coverage. You may receive what's known as a reservation of rights letter, which says that the insurance company has the ability to determine whether or not there's coverage, and they may retain separate coverage counsel. It's important that if you end up in a situation where you get a reservation of rights or a coverage counsel, is appointed, that you, the contractor, are watching out closely, because the insurance company in that situation is looking to try to see whether or not coverage exists. It's obviously in the insurance company's best interest to get out of coverage. So really encourage you to, make sure that you're watching it closely. Oftentimes, we suggest, getting private counsel to shadow the file at a minimum, or appear in it if there is an issue where they're trying to push that coverage. But you don't want to be left holding the bag at the end of it if for some reason the insurance company is able to get out. So always pay very, very close attention to any communications and correspondence you get from an insurer, because it can ultimately affect your rights.
Yes, very good advice. And the last thing I want to talk about for a minute, Trent, is you and I just got back from Dallas, from the International Roofing Expo, and you and I had a great opportunity to present our state of the industry, which we also had as a webinar earlier this year as well. But what was some of the feedback? It was amazing. There was at least probably 250 people in the room. But what was the feedback? What were people telling you after our presentation there at IRE?
It was mind blowing. It really was. I've had the opportunity, Jill, and been kind of blessed and fortunate that I can speak all over the nation. I've spoken at a lot of different things, obviously Best of Success and other, association sponsored type events. But I got to tell you, the state of the industry was absolutely packed. It was 90 minutes of solid, like, back and forth between, Mitch, Art, and I, and it was seamless. It just flowed perfectly. The amount of questions that we got, I had so many comments afterwards, people asking follow-up questions or talking about how interesting the stats were. And I encourage everybody to check out the research that was done. It is, we spoon-fed a lot of it in our presentation, but you can really do a deep dive, and it's incredibly impressive, and the amount of depth that's there. So amazing experience. Probably the best experience I had at this last IRE was doing that. And looking forward to do it again next year. I think we'll be able to add even more. Yeah,
there's no doubt we will. And it's exciting because right now our Mitch, our CEO, is for a short time is offering that special dashboard that you saw for free right now for a limited time for people to dive in and take a look at that. So we'll have that down in the copy as well, so people can click on that. You really can get lost in the data.
Yeah, look, if you're a CFO or a COO or even an owner of a company that's listening to this, you need to go check out that dashboard. I mean, I looked at it for my own purpose. I wanted to see what the trends were. I wanted to be able to isolate between residential and commercial and really figure out what things look like. And this data in that dashboard really gives you the opportunity to do that. You don't have access to that kind of information anywhere else. So really encourage everybody to check that out.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, Trent, thank you so much.
Thanks,
and if anybody has any questions for you from a legal perspective, how do they get a hold of you?
Sure, they can always hit me up via email, trent.cotney@arlaw.com.
Sounds great. And if anybody has any questions for us, it's roofingcontractor.com, wconline.com, and buildingenclosureonline.com. And while you're there, make sure you sign up for all our free content, whether it's our e-news, our website, our podcasts and videos, so you can stay up to date and all the great content and nuggets of information from Trent, who's just the best legal mind in the industry. But most importantly, stay safe and healthy. We'll talk to you soon. And thanks again, Trent.